Consider everything an experiment. You live like this, sheltered in a delicate world, and you believe you are living. Then you read a book, or you take a trip, and you discover that you are not living, that you are hibernating. You know how many people are like that? And then some shock treatment takes place. A person, a song, and it awakens them from the trance. What we call our destiny is truly our character, and that character can be altered. The knowledge that we are responsible for our actions and attitudes does not need to be discouraging, because also means that we are free to change this destiny. One is not in bondage to the past, which has shaped our feelings. All this can be altered if we have the courage to examine how it formed us. We can alter the chemistry provided we have the courage to dissect the elements. This alteration is possible through the experimental approach. Last fall, I decided it was a worthwhile idea to go without any time-telling mechanism for an entire week. No clock on the phone screen and no watches, obviously. The idea was born of a conversation with a friend about how much our wanting to know the time was useful, and how much was just an addiction to some bit of knowledge that didn't help us. Something that made us feel better prepared, but didn't make us any wiser. I can't say this experiment will change your life, but the goal is unknown in endeavors like this. See, I've got a thing for personal experiments, self-science. In the past few years, I've done 1 month of not looking into mirrors. They speaking only in questions. They treating every object as sacred. 1 week of slow walking everywhere. When you experiment a lot, the skill that you develop is experimenting itself. There can be some insights after each micro-project, but those insights do not even come close to the change in your habit of perception. The experimental life is a boundary-pushing thing. To those ends, you can test almost anything. Inside an experiment, the self becomes both participant and observer. You act, and you watch yourself act. You feel, and you watch the feeling bloom. This double vision gives the mind a strange clarity. You learn how habits assemble themselves, how emotions flare, and how thoughts stack and swirl. Experiments expose the architecture beneath personality, the hidden wires and switches that run daily life. Certain traits support this style of living. There is a gentle boldness, a willingness to disturb comfort for the sake of insight. There is a flexible identity that bends easily under new conditions. And there is a discipline that remains steady when confusion rises, because confusion is raw data, and we learn to not look at it as a threat. The experimental temperament enjoys thresholds, the moment between what you expect and what actually happens, because thresholds illuminate truth. Philosophers often describe this mindset as a living inquiry. William James called life a series of provisional attitudes, and that phrase captures the essence. Nothing final, everything adjustable. Everything flows. The self is a hypothesis constantly tested against reality's subtle push and pull. A mind shaped by inquiry forms a kind of humble boldness. It walks through life with curiosity, because all outcomes become raw material rather than a final stamp. This attitude creates an inner landscape where change feels natural, where uncertainty feels fertile. Though you will soon learn there is more to reality than theory and facts, here is one fact that you should consider before you begin the journey of experimentation. Big truth, once understood and assimilated, always modifies your intent and invariably leads to personal change. If you don't know where to start with the most abundant thing on this earth, the concept of dualism. Experimenting with dualism and playing with it becomes one of the most powerful consciousness exercises. Dualism, in human experience, appears everywhere. Body and mind, self and other, inner and outer, logic and intuition. When you begin treating these opposites as experimental variables instead of fixed truths, something shifts. Your perception loosens, your identity softens, and your awareness gains agility. The simplest experiment begins with holding two views at the same time, as a kind of binocular vision. Children do this naturally. They can believe a toy is alive while also knowing it is plastic. What else? Out-of-body experiences are one of the most radical experiments you can run on yourself. You feel the weight of your body, the room around you, and suddenly your awareness drifts just above it, sometimes hovering near the ceiling. The body stays behind, inert and familiar while you watch. What usually happens first is a tingling, a pressure in the chest, a feeling of being stretched or lifted. Thoughts can start to feel lighter or oddly slowed, and the world beneath you seems both real and slightly unreal, as if you've stepped into a dream that looks exactly like the waking world. Many experience a profound sense of freedom. Fears shrink, habitual anxieties seem smaller, and ordinary objects appear luminous with unnoticed detail. Once a person clicks out of the body movement, becomes a function of intention. The moment awareness separates from the physical frame, the rules shift. Direction responds directly to command. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe is famous for being a poet, but he was also a tireless experimenter of life. Born in 1749 in Frankfurt, Goethe's curiosity spanned every corner of human experience. He refused the sharp divisions of artist and scientist. During the day, he was casually observing plants, contemplating color wheel and composing verses. He is an example of a person who came into this world without automatically agreeing on established vision. He wanted to experience life through own interactions. We keep forgetting that there is neither happiness nor misery in the world. There is only the comparison of one state with another, nothing more. He who has felt the deepest grief is best able to experience supreme happiness. The rule offers freedom because it treats every moment as a provisional creation, an unfolding prototype, a field test of one's evolving self. Life becomes art when life becomes experiment, wrote Anais Nin, and this principle turns even the smallest gesture into a creative inquiry. A conversation becomes an experiment in honesty. A heartbreak becomes an experiment in resilience. A morning routine becomes an experiment in mood engineering. With this mindset, existence turns fluid, alive and responsive, because everything becomes worthy of exploration. Psychologically, the rule creates a state of expansive cognition. Curiosity activates the brain's exploratory circuitry, the same neural architecture that fuels play in children and discovery in scientists. All actions gain possibility. Nothing stands fixed or predetermined. William James hinted at this when he treated consciousness as a laboratory aware of its own experiments. The self becomes a researcher studying the self. Philosophically, this rule frees a person from the tyranny of certainty. Experimentation invites risk. When everything becomes an experiment without the burden of perfection, a person lives with an agile identity. They rearrange ideas and relationships with the ease of an alchemist stirring strange combinations, constantly deriving new forms of meaning. The psyche gains elasticity, the world gains texture. In practice, this rule tunes everyday life to a different frequency. A difficult conversation becomes a field experiment in compassion. A new hobby becomes a test of delight. Even solitude becomes an experiment where inner states reveal their architecture. The experimental mind moves through the world with open senses, receptive to subtle shifts. The way a room changes when sunlight enters. The way a mood evolves when music plays. The way a thought alters the entire atmosphere of an hour. You live as both participant and observer, immersed in the experience and also studying its resonances. A human being is a part of the whole called universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feeling as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. This is a conclusion to which a famous physicist, Albert Einstein, came to after many years of scientific research. He maybe was a theoretical physicist, but he also was an experimental human. Make a radical change in your lifestyle and begin to boldly do things which you may previously never have thought of doing or been too hesitant to attempt. So many people live within unhappy circumstances and yet will not take the initiative to change their situation because they are conditioned to a life of security, conformity, and conservation, all of which may appear to give one peace of mind. But in reality, nothing is more damaging to the adventurous spirit within a man than a secure future. The very basic core of a man's living spirit is his passion for adventure. The joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences, and hence there is no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon, for each day to have a new and different sun. If you want to get more out of life, you must lose your inclination for monotonous security and adopt a helter-skelter style of life that will at first appear to you to be crazy. But once you become accustomed to such a life, you will see its full meaning and its incredible beauty. Don't settle down and sit in one place. Move around. Be nomadic. Make each day a new horizon. You are still going to live a long time, and it would be a shame if you did not take the opportunity to revolutionize your life and move into an entirely new realm of experience. You are wrong if you think joy emanates only or principally from human relationships. It is in everything and anything we might experience. We just have to have the courage to turn against our habitual lifestyle and engage in unconventional living. My point is that you do not need me or anyone else around to bring this new kind of light in your life. It is simply waiting out there for you to grasp it, and all you have to do is reach for it. The only person you are fighting is yourself and your stubbornness to engage in new circumstances. Experiments create such expansion that a person grows through contact with possibility. Life shrinks or expands according to one's courage, said Anais Nin. She loved experimentation so deeply that it became her entire philosophy of living. She said that experiments reveal the multiple selves living inside a person. In her diaries, she confessed, "I must get out of myself in order to see myself." The possession of knowledge does not kill the sense of wonder and mystery. There is always more mystery. Consider everything an experiment, and the world stops being a rigid landscape of fixed outcomes. It becomes a breathing organism inviting exploration. The mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience.